Hello everyone, I'm excited. Most of you who actually watch Legacy Conversation knows I always start like that. I would say, hello internet, I'm excited today. Or, I'm excited. And I started doing that right in the beginning because I had no clue what I was doing, and I still don't really. And so what happens was is people got used to that, and when I would record somebody, they would say to me, this veteran, wants to tell his story, and I wouldn't say I'm excited, and then he would say, hey, Chris, why you not excited, man? Why you not excited? But I'm excited today because this is the end. This is the last video I have to make of the GMJ series, as it is now. Of course, in the future there might be more books, and then I'll have to make another one. But you know what? Yeah, as we always say, the best for last, eh? There's a saying like that. And I wish to thank all of you. I don't know in what order you were looking at this, but if you were one of the few who actually watched from the beginning to the end, thank you for that, man. I really appreciate your support. And during the time which I was making all these videos, and it took me about 2 months, but it will take about 18 months to come out on the internet, because I launch them once a week on the Legacy Conversation channel on Odyssey as well as on Rumble, not on YouTube, because the things I say here is so much that YouTube would probably not like that, and I don't want to risk the main channel. But I publish them all on this channel where you are right now. I would have the actual book channel on YouTube, and I have backups of every single video. So I don't really care what YouTube does. If they do something to us, we will just move on somewhere else. That's what will happen. But when you speak about 54 books in one series under the George M. James name, and quite a few under your own name, you do need to make notes because there's no way in the world I can remember every book word for word, man. They are 400 pages each on average. Some of them are 600 pages. Some of them are a little bit less, but they are very substantial, man. Very substantial. So I would go through the book and I would print a few pages and just look at it and keep my notes. And here we go. Yeah, there you go. Here's my notes. Here's the notes for all the videos. I showed Rebecca this morning, and she said, Gus, we need to make a bonfire. I said, yeah, we need to make a bonfire. Wow, I went through all this paper and all the ink. You don't want to know what that cost. But anyway, the book we want to talk about today is indeed this one. That is code name Rebecca 65. Now there's a story about the name. Obviously, people who have seen my videos before will know that Rebecca is my wife. And we're very close. When I took these pictures myself, it was actually a bit of a joke. And I said, hey, you look like a spy. And she was laughing. And I said, okay, let's put it on the book. And yeah, and I like this cover actually. Rebecca doesn't read. She thinks it's funny. But anyway, um, all the books, of course, are called code name. Unless they are non-fictional, then they might have different names like Oath of Evil or Intelligence Briefing or Voices, War Crimes USA. Then there's no need. But the code name books, actually all of them refer to something. They refer to an event. In other words, it's a code. It's a code like the opposite of a cipher. So read code name with date, and you'll find out what's the difference between a code and a cipher. It's not the same thing. And of course, I don't really refer to Rebecca in the book, but in secret now, and I'll give it to you. What does the name means? Rebecca 65. Well, she was born in 1965, and so name is Rebecca. So I said to her when we first met, I was quite poor. I still am actually, but she did better than me in life. And I said to her, look, I'm an educated man. I've got postgraduate degrees, and I write all these books, but I'm stuck in South Africa, man. I'm white. There's no way I can find a job. We have something going called affirmative action. Some people call it revenge of the dark people, but that actually refers to something else, but in a jocular way. And it's the only country in the world where you actually have affirmative action against a minority. Yeah, yeah. Now, the liberals among you will, of course, say, well, that's thoroughly deserved. It should be like that. Simply because it is meant to actually help the previously disadvantaged. Now, note that word previously. We're not disadvantaged anymore. No, no. Where's the job opening? You talk about a country which probably has 40% of its people, young people anyway, has no job, no income whatsoever. That's why the crimes are high. And they have no hope to find a job because things have just been going wrong in that country like you can't believe. It is just a joke. It's an absolute joke what's happening there. But besides the politics, there was just no way I could find a job even if I'm an educated man. And I was living with my mom and I was actually taking care of her. That's how I was earning my keep. I could live there in a house and get food now and then, and also I could take care of her, which actually worked out well. But after 4 years after Melissa died, I knew that Rebecca is somewhere, and I started searching for her. Of course, I had no idea what's her name. I was quite shocked when I saw Rebecca, and those of you who followed the GMJ books will actually know why, because we have these triplets in the books from Mossad called Rebecca. Rebecca A, Rebecca B, and Rebecca C, which is obviously not their real names. But when I wrote it, I thought to myself, I'm going to describe the triplets, which was actually quite famous in my world. And I wish them luck. I haven't seen them in years, but I hope all's good with them, God willing. And I decided, well, the most Jewish name I can think about, so let's make it Rebecca. So imagine my surprise on 27 July 2018. That's where the book name came from, code name July 27. When suddenly I found Rebecca. Then it took me exactly 72 seconds to fall in love. That's how long it took me to read the entire profile. So that's where code name Love 72 comes from. She says it took her 3 days. But I like the 72 seconds one more. But you can translate it to 72 hours as well, of course. And it's the entire story which I tell in code name Love 72. I will tell you about it in the video. And so I said, look, the only thing I can really tell you is I'm a good man. I have a past. I'm not welcome in your country. In fact, I'm banned in all your countries, every NATO country. But you live in Switzerland. Oh, that's fantastic. That's one country I might actually in Europe be able to go to. Of course, it didn't work. I started calling the place Swineland. There's many reasons for that. But I did say to her, I said, look, I tell you what, I'll write you a book. And I will call it Rebecca 65. Now, I don't know if she thought I was insane. Probably did. Because, I was writing these books every 2-3 weeks. I would write a 400-page book. I'm not sure that anybody else can claim that. I can claim it, I do claim it, and I can prove it. Yeah, of course. Just go and see when they were published. They were published a month after each other, the first 44 books. So that's all what I was doing, man. I would get up in the morning at 6 and I would take care of my mom, take care of myself, have a breakfast. In those days, I still ate eggs and bread and things like that. Today, of course, I don't. And then I would sit on my ass and I would type. And then I would go for a toilet break and I would make some lunch. And I would sit on my ass and type. And by 10 o'clock tonight, I would stop. And 10 days later, 14 days later, the book is done. Quickly rehearsed it in 3-4 days. And then there you go. And then you're tired, very, very tired. So you would then sit down, fall asleep, basically, sleep till the next morning, 6 o'clock. Oh yeah, let's write another book. Yeah, and that's the way it went until book 44, codename on Button, and then Rebecca appeared on the scene. And she said to me, there's a strange thing happening to her. There's a lot of swans following her, a lot of swans following her around in Switzerland. And we know that swans are supposed to be the messengers of God. It's just way people say things, not really. But anyway, so we wrote the book, codename Swan 53. Yeah. And so it went on and on and on. So anyway, what's this book about? Now that you know where the name comes from, Rebecca 65, is basically I have a message for you in this book, which is fascinating, and you really should read it if interested, of course. And it's a long book; it's 482 pages. I'm sure you saw it's quite substantial. And there's something which we discovered in the shadows, which was very, very interesting indeed. And I describe this in the book where I talk about the Madrid train bombs, the train attack. And this train attack, I believe, killed about 2,000 people. I'm not too sure anymore, but a lot of people died in Spain. And basically, it was a jihadi attack to get Spain out of Iraq, which was then, of course, being invaded by, the US and so forth, and it worked. Spain withdrew its army. Now, what use they were, I don't know. They've got a fairly good navy. They've got a good foreign legion. The Spanish foreign legion is actually quite good. It is, of course, not the same thing as the French foreign legion. They're not as well known. It's a wonderful country, Spain, actually. It's a very big place, lovely people. I don't agree with their killing of, bullfighting and that type of thing, but whatever, you know what. Spain at one stage was, of course, this great power, same as the US today. But then with the years, every empire will fall. But that attack, the Spanish attack, the train attack, that was the first indication we had, solid indication that there's a link between the occult, which is Satan worshippers, as well as terrorism. Yeah. Now, a lot of you will know I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I keep on bringing up about the dragon and the first beast, which is the Catholic Church system, not the people as such. In the second beast, which is the US of A, I keep talking about the Sabbath day, the fourth commandment, how the Catholic Church moved that day to Sunday, and then they call it a mark of authority, and therefore it's a mark of a beast, and therefore you should stay the hell away from it, and so forth and so forth. And I know that it did annoy a lot of people, but also a lot of people actually went and got hold of Oath of Evil to see what I'm talking about. And if you're ever wondering about it, then please think about it. And also get hold of this book, because that's where we start going into a link between the two. Now, it is astonishing that there is something like the occult language, which they say come all the way from Baal, or Baal, as you would call it. And that is where, where people were scheming to build a tower as high as they can to escape God's wrath, and that there'll never be a flood again. And so the Bible story is well known. But they were confused because different languages then came into being. Now again, if you don't believe in the Bible and you think it's just bullshit and crap, then okay, well, then you do. I don't care. But if you have even a cursory interest in these things, then you should really listen and read these books, and go and look at that series, which I always refer you to, Total Onslaught by Professor Walter White, simply because that's a series which changed me. It took me 5 years for me to think, well, okay, they might not be a bunch of strange people, but perhaps they've got the truth. And I think every one of us is searching for the truth when you're at a certain age. And it's astonishing if you can speak the occult language, then you can recognize things, right? So it is obvious that not all Satan worshippers will know they're Satan worshippers. Well, if they at the lower ranking, like at Freemasonry, they will not know it. But if you're at the higher ranks, then definitely you will know you're serving Satan. Now, the occult is like in the opposites. If the occult tell you it is white, it means it's black. If it's black, it means it's white. They have a system, and we can read their language. Like, let me give you an example. You see me sitting like this. You'll never see me like this. It's just an example. And you see a lot of senators like this. They would sit like this. Now they're trying to read or whatever. You see it a lot. You see news people. You see famous presidents. You see the famous people. You see even actors, people like that. Or what you also see is you have a picture of him and they have like a hand over their one eye, or there's perhaps oil dripping down. Hello, Greta. Yeah, you know that one, climate change. Yeah, so. Now, I'm not saying it is like that, but let me explain to you what I've just shown you now is occult language. This is occult language, the same as the goat sign, which actually stands for the horns, which you all know is Satan. But you see these things at discos and places all the time. Yeah. You know what you're actually doing when you make those signs? You know, it is like, for me, it's like, okay, tell me, are you willing to stand next to a Nazi flag? Yeah, a Nazi symbol. Which didn't start out as a occult symbol, by the way. It didn't start off like that, but it seemed like that. Will you stand there next to that flag and say it's okay, and you associate you with that flag? Will you do that? Will you do that? The answer is flippant, no, of course not. You shouldn't. You shouldn't, really. You ought not to. So then tell me, why the hell would you then vote to people who you know is from the occult? Every single president, virtually every president you ever had in the US, the second beast of the Bible, was either a Freemason, very high ranking, 53-degree level and just below, or they were involved in some kind of secret organizations. Like what? Skulls and Bones. Who's that? Both Bushes. Yeah. What does Bush Jr. say in his book about it? Oh, he says it's a secret. I can't speak about it. Yeah, of course not. Of course not. Why not? Because it reflects back to Satan worship. That's exactly what it is. John Kerry, yeah, he too belonged to that. Now, that's not to say these guys are actual Satan worshippers. Let me just clarify that. But if you belong to organizations which we have reason to think is into that type of thing, then you have to think about it. So anyway, so after the language confusion, they had to start communicating with each other. And so they created this language, which is called the occult sign language, and it's in this book. And it's in Oath of Evil as well, but in this book we actually go into it quite a bit. And then we explain to you, and we look at your flags, for instance. It's occult symbols. If you look at any State Department, you'll find its State Department, all countries, all of them just reflects back to this. You know, it's fascinating because the Bible says the entire world, the whole world, all of them, not one or two, everyone, all of them will wander after the beast, meaning they will implement this. You're going to see in the future, they're going to start implementing Sunday laws, blue laws, things like that, forcing you basically to go to church on a Sunday. They're going to have death decrees against people like me who say to you, no, I will not go to church on a Sunday. I will go what the fourth commandment tell me, which is on a Saturday, Friday night to Saturday night. The people will say to me, and it's also in this book and other books, yeah, but where in the Bible does it say it's Saturday night? Well, tell me, where in the Bible does this word Saturday or Sunday even comes forth? It doesn't. It doesn't exist. That's a human thing. The Bible talks about day 1, day 2, day 3. And on day 7, what happened? The Sabbath. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, it comes from Genesis. Got nothing to do with Jews. Jews only came 600 years later. But everybody likes to blame the Jews, the poor Jews. Whatever they do, they get blamed. And as you know, I'm from Jewish stock myself, even though I'm not a Jew. I'm not even white. I'm not even European. I'm African, man. That's what I am. So anyway, so in Codename Rebecca 65, what happens is in the story is that there's a train which is captured by a bunch of religious nutcases. They are the type of people like Pompeo and Rubio probably, and Vance and these people, Trump, who actually believes in the third day, the third temple theory, which is bullshit in the extreme sense of the word. And I'm not going to even explain it to you further. It is in this book where I tell you it's bullshit because we're talking about not an earthly kingdom, but a heavenly kingdom. But they seem to believe that if they can only recreate the third temple, then Jesus will arrive. All the Jews will then be miraculously somehow become Christians, because remember, if you don't get to, through Jesus, to our Father, you will not get into heaven. May I be very blunt to you? Very blunt. If you do not accept Jesus, you will not get to heaven. Does Jews accept Jesus? No, they rejected him. Otherwise, they would be Christians. Muslims, yeah, they talk about Jesus. They call him Isha or Ishfa or something, Isha like that. Highly respected prophet, but not the Son of God. You see what I mean? This is a closed club, guys. You either follow what Jesus said you should do, or you don't. And don't call me anti-Semitic because I say this to you, because simply did Jesus not say that you should spread the word, make disciples of all nations? Yeah. Now, I'm not an evangelist. I actually urinate on most of it, especially the American type, because the Christianship they're following is totally not the biblical one. But you have to look at that series I referred you to, Total Onslaught and others. Read Oath of Evil, follow the links which I give you, look at my books, and you will find the truth. I hope you will. So anyway, it's a bunch of these nutcases who's got a train captured. Now, well, where is this train standing? It's on a bridge, which is at least 700 feet in the air, close to Port Elizabeth, which is a town in, well, I would suppose call a city, in the eastern coast of South Africa. And there it is standing. It's the old Apple railway line. A lot of you will actually know what I'm talking about. I'll put a few pictures in for you so you can understand. And it's called the Van Staden River Railway Bridge. It's not in use anymore, but it used to be. There used to be a small gauge, is that what you call it, narrow track railway line there. It would bring the apples and things for export into the town. And like most things in South Africa, it's now totally abandoned and screwed up. But I hope that somewhere in the future it might not be, because it's really spectacular to see it. And that is way away from the ocean, because if you come from the Indian Ocean, you'll first see the new, well, it's not that new anymore, but there's like a double carriageway, like a highway, and then there's a magnificent bridge there. Now, sadly, at that bridge, people commit suicide by the dozens. They jump from it. And then they fall themselves to death in the ravine below. And there you find a lot of occultic satanic worshipping going on as well. It is astonishing. I reveal it in this book. But the bridge I'm talking about is about 2 miles further inland. There you find the actual railway bridge. And now what they did is they parked this train right on top of it, which makes it damn difficult to storm. Now let me say to you, I really know a lot about hostage rescues, and I wrote quite a few books about it. You will remember we wrote about it first in Codename Wrangler. And in Codename Wrangler, we actually deal with what is bread and butter work for special forces. It's really nothing much. It's where you storm an aircraft. Now, storming an aircraft is not a big deal. Really, it's bread and butter work. That's what you do, man. And if you look at Legacy Conversations, our main show, you will find a lot of members from the South African Railway Police Special Task Force. Now, what I can say in our language, let's call them the Railway Police Special Forces, because that's what they were. They don't exist anymore, but their first commander, who retired as a colonel, Andre Willifier, is actually our chaplain, great friend of mine. I'm excited because in about 2 weeks from the day I'm making this video, he and his wife is coming to visit me here in Phuket. And if any of you guys are out there in Phuket, then come and visit me. You're welcome. Just send me an email. And he was the first commander, and he was trained by Israelis who are very good at this type of thing. A lot of his men were trained by West German police special forces as well as French police special forces. And they were absolutely experts in storming aircraft. In fact, they hold the world record that they can put, or they could put 55 operators, special forces men inside a Boeing 747 in less than 3 seconds. That's it. 3 seconds is now passed since I stopped talking. They're shooting now, right? There's 55 men inside that Boeing moving, and they don't miss. Fantastic. Some of the methods which you used, I used in my own unit, where you would deliberately put, while people are shooting, you would make sure that they have a misfire by taking the, sabotaging the ammunition, because I want to see what he does. Is he shooting and the next moment he has a misfire? Does he drop his assault rifle, whatever it is, MP5, Uzi, whatever, doesn't matter. Does he drop it when it hangs down on his sling and go for his pistol? That's what most policemen will actually do. They will do that. While your army trained guys will not do that. They're not used to a sidearm as their primary weapon like the police are. And so what they would do is they would cock that rifle and just carry on. So which is the best? Yeah, guys, do you want to start an argument here? I don't know. For me, it depends. It depends. It depends. I would go for my pistol in such a case, depending on what I'm facing. Of course, if it really depends on what you're shooting at. But anyway, I'm just saying this. There's a lot of these techniques which we actually gotten from other units which we put into our own training. I've already told you the story in our books that we once had an experiment where we put a terrorist in, a very beautiful woman from German, West German Bader-Meinhof gang. She's still alive, but we would pictures of her in, and we would see if the men would actually shoot at her, and they don't. They don't shoot at her. You have to actually kick them physically to get them to shoot at her. And then we thought to ourselves, okay, well, a female operator, will she shoot at this woman? Yeah, bing, bing, bong, boom, boom, double tap her dead. Don't care. So we thought, okay, right, what if we put a handsome guy there, something like Brad Pitt, not me, something very, very beautiful, manly. Don't think a man can be beautiful, can we? We can be ruggedly handsome. Yeah, I'm not, but that doesn't matter. So anyway, so we thought again, how will they react? Well, the lads had no problem shooting the bastard. I mean, why would they? And the girls, the females, the women, no problem. No, they just shot him. Brilliant operators, these females, I can tell you. So anyway, they stormed this aircraft in codename Wrangler, and so I explained the entire story for you, how you would do that and not. Then I wrote a book called Codename Caribbean, which is about maritime counterterrorism. That is where they actually work out how to storm a passenger liner, right? And before that, in between, there was a book called Codename Willow Bay, which is a way which you can get onto a ship without people knowing you are there. And all of these things were getting together. And then I thought to myself, but I haven't written a book yet on how to storm a train. Because a train is a massively difficult thing to storm, not as hard as a ship, but damn sight harder than an aircraft, because it's bigger, and it's hard to approach. And we started looking at history, and we saw that the Dutch actually stormed a few trains in their lives in the 70s with the South Moluccans, something like that. And we're very proud of that, the Dutch. And I say to you now, I piss on their effort, I urinate on it. And I describe in this book why. Because it's just ridiculous. So we were just shooting at this thing. There were thousands of shots fired. And during counterterrorism, when you do rescue operations, there's never thousands of shots fired. There are dozens of shots at the most. Why? Because you aim at what you shoot, you idiot. You just don't go in there in full automatic and start shooting. You will kill innocents. And if you kill even one innocent hostage, you have failed. I don't care if you kill the terrorist 5 seconds later or 1 second later or whatever. I don't give a single, I don't want to. Those are my standards. End of story. I want to hear nonsense here from you. You don't go out there and shoot like a damn Marine who's scared. Because that's what they are. Look what happened there at Afghanistan at the airport. When they killed, 200 and something people after a bomb went off. Yeah. Why? Because they panicked. What about that Navy SEAL, US Navy SEAL Team 6 we don't talk about all the time, that raid in Yemen? Where they killed about between 37 and 47 innocents. Yeah, sure, they did. But tell me, this was in 2017, but tell me, idiot, why did it take you 37,000 bullets to kill 47 innocents? Huh? If you use more than 2 bullets to kill anybody in my team, or under my command, I chase you away. I don't want you. Huh? Don't want you. No, no, you're not good enough. Go away. So anyway, we are on this bridge, and there's every chance in the world that Angelique Dawson was dealing with this. And normally she wouldn't because it's inside South Africa, and as a spy, she normally works outside South Africa, but she's the head of counterterrorism. With special forces, and South African special forces are flippin' good at this. The police special forces, as well as the army special forces, are fantastically good at hostage rescue. Of course, a lot of you will now say, "Oh, of course, I don't know, I don't know." No, no, trust me, you've never seen them in action, and you've never seen them. No, 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 trust me. Just trust me on this, guys. They are very, very good at this. And also remember that it's something I said in my hostage survival series, which you can go and look at if you want to. Don't let your auditor cost you your life. What do I mean by that? We're bean counters, that's all they are. And they're very good people and we love them dearly. But it's not worth your while to say $50 to fly on say, Egypt Air instead of something proper. And then this aircraft is hijacked or the ship is hijacked, because what's going to happen? This place where this aircraft is registered, let's say to Egypt or to Germany or to the US or UK or even South Africa or Nigeria, means it's a flag carrier of that country, which means that their special forces are going to come and rescue you. Now, I have great faith in the South African people to rescue me. I have a bit less faith in the Brits, but I can live with them. Almost zero faith in the Americans, but I can live with them. Great faith in the Russians actually, and fantastically high faith in the Chinese. You will notice I didn't say Egypt and I didn't say Nigeria and I didn't say Ghana or whatever these countries. So don't say $50 and go on to something where if something goes wrong and you're going to be rescued, that you might be rescued in the wrong way. You want to know why I'm removing my glasses now and then? It's because I'm trying to see how long I've been talking, because I need to replace my glasses. I can't actually read the screen. It's a bit small. It doesn't matter. I'll replace it this week or some way. Point I'm trying to make is it's very hard to rescue a train. So we look at it different ones in the past, where they succeeded, where they failed. We analyzed it, and then we started explaining to you, like we did in Wrangler as well, that the spies actually play a major role in these things, because they were ones who would be planting the bugs and been listening to these guys and built up a total overview of who's who, because we need to know who's the damn terrorist and who's not. We need to know who's the passengers and who's not. Because if you have a passenger there with, say, a former Navy SEAL, and of course I don't rate that unit very highly either, but I would expect this fellow to know what to do and what not to do, and perhaps to intervene or not to intervene. I would expect something from him. So you need to know this. You need to know who you should kill and who you should not kill. Because, guys, that's what it is about. When it's a hostage rescue, it's all about killing. But let's be blunt about this. I cannot take the chance that that guy, and I just shoot him in the shoulder or whatever, and there he just press the button and boom, there goes my train with all my hostages and me. I cannot take the chance of just shooting him in the shoulder and he still has another arm left and now he shoots me. Or he duck and dives there behind a passenger and he shoots her. Or he drops his weapon and he becomes a passenger, as I sometimes try to do. He tries to become a hostage. I want him dead. And I want him dead as quick as he can die. In other words, shooting the head. Quick death. And to be sure he actually dies, you shoot him twice. It's called a double tap. Boom, boom. There you go. So don't get involved with such shite. There's a real good chance when these people go in, you cannot stop an attack halfway. We're not the FBI, who started storming that ranch or whatever, Waco Ranch or something, which they stormed in the 90s. And they just started storming it and then they stopped. Oh, for. I have no words. Read my book, Terrorist Takedown, and other books under the GMJ name, where we actually discuss Wacko. Oh, ish. You know what? If you're not good enough to do something, please get good enough, or admit you're not good enough and drop out, or go and seek help. Do something for your community. Do the honorable thing. Admit you are shite and try to improve your standards, because that will not go well. People will die because of you. Innocent. Like somebody like you listening to me now. You're standing in a bank. Next moment, this place is taken hostage. Now you're there. Now comes your sheriff department SWAT team. Mm. And none of them are actually special forces qualified. They might have been. In their service here, they might have been a Green Beret or something. Yeah, we don't take anything away from them, but they're not anymore. In a whole way, really pathetic way. They're really not good enough. Just not good enough. And so now you die. Why did you die? Well, I died because these people came storming in and they just started shooting indiscriminately and they shot me. Mm, mm. It feels a bit different, when you're actually involved with these things, which is why I'm so, sometimes worked up here. Because for me, it really is about life and death, guys. I've seen this. I've done this. This is what I used to be. So anyway, make a long story short, uh, Foxtrot and Angelique then climbs up this damn bridge to plant their box. Something happens there which we don't talk about, but it's in the book. It's really bad, really bad. They still deny it to this day, but I know it happened. And then of course the time will come when this train has to be rescued, because Angelique is never going to give in to their nonsense. She's going to give an attack command at some stage. So the entire book, more than 400 pages, is how she manipulates these religious nutcases. She will even quote the Bible to them, or she would smile at people to get what she wants. She's dangerous, man. She's very dangerous. So yeah, so that's what the book is about. I just want to go into a few other things with you. Yeah, there is a certain other character in my books called Hilarious Clinton, which obviously refers to Mrs. Clinton. And I actually saw the woman. I saw in my own eyes. I was at the embassy, uh, what do you call it, embassy gathering, whatever. I was there with the real Angelique because we wanted to see how the US Secret Service operates. And we left laughing. Yeah, guys, read the codename Pour Angelique, which means for Angelique. It's French, Pour Angelique. Part of the Eggbreaker series. And there you will find out what we do with your rush defense. Yeah. You try that against people like me. I hope you've got good testaments, because you will die. And let me tell you something else. I'm not saying these things to threaten you. I'm really not. I'm warning you. I'm telling you that we studied you. We even had people who went for training with you. They come back, they report. We listen carefully. We work out counter strategies. Yeah. Read also codename Butterfly. You'll find out what I'm talking about. But anyway, this poor Hilarious, I was seeing her the first time. She really looked to me like a beaten wife. She looked to me like a woman who was really not happy. Not in a happy marriage. And Billy Goat Clinton, I can tell you, didn't impress me at all. He seemed to me like a man who you cannot leave alone with your wife, unless your wife is able to defend herself. But anyway, that's your leaders, not mine. In the books, of course, it becomes a bit of a joke. This Foxtrot is very much in love with Angelique. Angelique's a very, very attractive woman. And the real one was too. Still is, I suppose. And of course, when you see the woman you love, you might get like endorsement, below the belt. And so Foxtrot found out that the way to overcome this is just to think of Hilarious. And if you think of Hilarious, that endorsement goes away right there. But what I want to tell you about Hilarious is actually during her college years, she wrote a thesis, and she wrote it on a guy called Saul D. Alinsky, or Alinsky, or whatever. And this fellow actually wrote a book called The Rules for Radicals, a pragmatic primer for realistic radicals, 1971. So this is a radical handbook. Now I have to wonder, why would Hilarious have done that at a young age in the 20s? Why did she do that? It's a 92-page thesis, and it was called There Is Only the Fight, an analysis of the Alinsky model. Why would Hilarious Clinton do that? Why? Well, we don't know. We don't know, guys. We don't know. I don't know. Because when they became the presidential couple, the White House formally requested this thesis to be kept hidden and secret, which it was then kept from 1993. That was Wellesley College, where she was. Of course, later years she became an attorney and she failed the bar exam in New York. But she did pass somewhere else, as far as I know. But Billy Goat, of course, got himself disbarred because of what? What's that woman who gave him the blowjob? I can't remember her name anymore. You know, and when he had to testify about that in front of a special counsel, he suddenly attacked one of the African countries, Somalia or something, with cruise missiles. You know what the CIA report said of that? It was absolute bullshit. So it was nothing, rubbish, didn't achieve anything. So anyway, it became a stuff of legends, you know. This exactly, this thesis of her, which she wrote when she was 22 years old, 21 years old. Now, I don't want to go too much in it. I'm just mentioning it in this book because to me it's like an open-ended thing. If you look at her and the way she ended up as Secretary of State doing all sorts of strange things, then you perhaps think that she might have been a bit radical herself. Then I also want to talk about, in this book, of course, we go very deep into Freemasonry, things like that, because I have to explain the enemy to you. And one of the things which a lot of people say to me is, yeah, but you know, the Freemasons, because they do good, you know, they're not like you say they are. Well, let's see what Albert Mackey says in his book, The Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. I have all these quotes in this book. It is in Oath of Evil as well, a few of them, but I really went deep into them here. And he says, this is in their own encyclopedia. What's the word? Encyclopedia. If Freemasonry was simply a Christian institution, the Jew and the Muslim, the Brahmin and the Buddhist could not partake in its elimination. Interesting word, elimination, isn't it? So what they basically say to you, it's not a Christian organization, so wake up. Then they say, what says Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma, you know, that guy who predicted the 3 world wars, him? Yeah, what does he say? Masonry is a search after light. Light is written with a capital L. So it's like a god. Research leads us back, as you can see, to the Kabbalah. You know what's a Kabbalah? That is Satan worship. There you go. So I quote all these things here, and I keep on saying these things, and that you can either listen or you can just laugh about it. But I'll say a last thing about Hilarious Clinton. You know, the email scandal of this, where some of people went to jail because they did the same, much lesser scale, but they did the same. Yeah, do you know that she said that she could not remember or she could not recall dozens of times while she was interviewed by the FBI, who is also known as what? The Clinton Whitewash Bureau? Yes, why? Because the FBI is the only damn police unit or federal police, call them what you want, law enforcement in the world who can actually arrest somebody and put them into jail for a long time for lying to them. As I say to you, not the KGB, not the apartheid police, not the Chinese secret police, no other unit in the world has that right. Only in the second beast is that actually allowed and applauded. It is why you're not a free country, by the way. I'm afraid to tell you, but you are really not. You are not a Republican. You're not Democratic either. You have a one-party solution. That's all you have. There's no difference between the Democrats and the reptiles. It's the same party. But she, dozens and dozens of times, she said she could not recall and things like that. And she was not placed on an oath. Interesting. So because he wasn't placed on an oath, it had no meaning. It was a bullshit from the beginning to end. It was a cover-up. Absolutely a cover-up. Before that, in the days of Billy Goat's impeachment, that is for Lewinsky, what's her name? The blowjob story. She could not recall, she could not remember more than 100 times. Who says this? It is actually Ken Starr. He was the independent counsel. And he wrote a book called Contempt, a memoir of the Clinton investigation. He says she was both systematic, enabling spouse's years of cheating, and was vital in helping clean up her husband's messes. He went on, this is now Ken Starr, he said, what was clear is that Mrs. Clinton couldn't be bothered to make it even appear if she was telling the truth. Reptile people, my man. Reptile people, that's what you have. I didn't go into a lot of other things, of course, but I will say this, and I will leave a Occult story alone because it's for you to read it in the book. I can't repeat everything here. He's basically what Dwight D. Eisenhower said. Now, there's a man which you can actually listen to. One of his famous things, which I like to quote, is President Eisenhower. And you know about his military-industrial complex speech of 1961. They are now actually controlling you. Nobody listened. But he also said that if you don't walk in the middle of the road, you're in the gutter. Either left, you're in the gutter. In the right, you're in the gutter. Remember that. It's good advice. But he said something else. He said an atheist is a man who watches a Notre Dame game versus Southern Methodist University. And he doesn't care who wins. Yeah, true. Obviously, he didn't like Notre Dame. Yeah, nobody does. So anyway, so if you find the book shocking, you probably will, because I do go into great detail what these nutcases actually believe and don't believe, and I explain to you the occult, and I also explain to you how these occultists inform themselves into groups of people, and how they then become like a cult. And then we look at what is a cult, and then what is the things which we would expect to actually see in cults. Because we're dealing with a cult. It's a cult which actually taken this train over. So we go into cult history in the US as well as in Switzerland, of all damn places, Swineland, where I talk about a guy called Luc Jury. He was actually born in the Belgian Congo. There you can see a codename Dawn. He doesn't feature in the book. He's not important enough. But we talk about Katanga, which is a sad thing where the UN decided that they will use force to intervene in a country's internal problems and things, and then they did. And that's where the UN Air Force, which actually was the Indian Air Force, acting on behalf of the UN, started bombing what do I hear? Hospitals. Yeah, they were bombing hospitals. Yeah, read the book. Anyway, this Luc Juray, he got a medical degree from the Free University of Brussels. He then became a paratrooper in the Belgian army. And he saw some combat, by which I mean less than 10 shots fired, during the Battle of Kolwezi, which was a joint French and Belgian airborne operation, where they rescued quite a few people, which they did very well. And that's also the place, of course, where Mad Mike War became famous. And on Legacy Conversation, there will be an episode by his son Chris Hoare talking about his late dad, Colonel Mike Hoare, and the books he wrote, and so forth. Very, very interesting. Anyway, he then became a homeopathic practitioner, and he got involved with alternative and spiritual healing. Bingo, there you go. The moment you walk away from the Bible and you go into this crap, then of course you're gonna be influenced by Satan. And so he was influenced by a New Age group. It's called the Golden Wave Foundation, and they found a Rosicrucian. Now, if you look at the occult, they have different levels and have different organizations. Rosicrucian is also there, so we know who they are actually serving. And anyway, so they were the ones, Rosicrucians were then replaced by the Knights Templar. Knights Templar were then later replaced. Why? Because it came out that the initiation ceremonies would be gay sex, homosexual sex on a upside down cross, things like that. Yeah. And that's when the chief, Jacques de Molay, where he was actually been burnt on the stake. They say on Friday the 13th, which is why they say it's an unlucky day. In fact, it was a great day when that happened. Fantastic. And then guys like Walt Disney became very heavily under the influence of it. The Malay youth. It's something like the Boy Scouts. And then that influenced him towards the occult. That is why Walt Disney is totally, when you look at their movies, he's totally occultic. Anyway, they started like a cult in Switzerland, and people started dying, and at the end of the day, they committed murder-suicide, and 74 of them actually died. That is, they called themselves the Order of the Solar Temple Members. The Solar Sun God, hello, Sunday, Day of the Sun God, yeah, there you go. So when I look in this book, I started looking at what you would expect in these cults, because many terrorist groups are actually occultic, and many of them are cults. And so you would find there that they have a leader who controls the information. They also give status to extremists. In other words, if somebody who goes and blow himself up as a suicide bomber, they would actually admire. Then there's a cult message, there's fake prophets and spiritual abusers. They actually twist the scriptures for personal gain. Whether the scriptures are from the Quran. If you read code name Wednesday 7, you will see how I actually describe these jihadis, how they twist the Quran around to be something which they shouldn't be, which is flipping totally against Islam. How do I know this? Well, man, I studied Islam, and my first late wife was actually a Muslim woman, a modern Muslim woman, and she worked for the French intelligence until she was murdered. Not by me. I know we did it. But we shook hands, and she wasn't meant to die that day. Let me put it like that. There was a different target, and they just fucked off. Why? Because they are under the influence of the US. They ain't as good as they think they are. See what Iran did to them. And then what they also do is these cult leaders, they all have superficial charm and charisma. They actually comes over quite nicely until you see their dark side. And they have a total lack of guilt or remorse. They have no such feelings. They are pathological liars. Donald Trump? Daddy? Yeah. I'm not calling him a cult leader, by the way. But a lot of professors and the learned people on the liberal side, the demo rats, all of them are saying the MAGA movement is actually a cult. Yeah. They certainly do have a lot of similarities, but it's not me talking here, okay? Not me. So don't hold that against me. Then all of them take sexual advantages of their members. So you always find them having group sex, things like that. It's amazing. And they always want those who are together to have children. Why? Well, sometimes they use the children as offers. So they would cut their throats for Satan, that type of thing. And also they need new members. So they can get more and more children, they become more powerful. And now you also know why something like Al Qaeda and these ISIS and these people have 10 brides each, even though not only 4 is actually allowed. And I don't know if you've actually listened to Wednesday 7 or not, but let me explain this to you quickly, and it's in the book. This is a classic example how you would twist things around for yourself. What you would do is as follows. You're walking down the street. Yeah, you know a jihadi. Let's call you Muhammad. And now this is not against the Prophet, right? Just the name, most common name they use, Muhammad. And now Muhammad is walking down the street and he sees there's a quite an attractive woman. And he decides, well, he wants this woman. So what he does is he grabs her and he arranges that he gets married to her. Now, once you're married to her, of course, you can have sex with her. And then you can, basically rape her because he doesn't want to be married to you. No, no, not at all. But you want her. You don't love her. This is all about sex, guys. You just want this woman, and to make it look right, you marry her and then you have your way. And now, after a few days, you're a bit tired of her, but your mate, Abdul, he also wants her. So all you say to her is, we're getting divorced 3 times. Now you're divorced. Now Abdul grabs her and marries her and then rapes her again. It happened tens of thousands of times during the time of ISIS, and it's happening as we speak in Syria tens of thousands of times. Do you know what the second beast, the US, when it started intervening there in the Middle East, do you know what happened? It's in this book as well. Before they started doing that, 20% of the world's Christians were in that area. They are just basically fuck all of them left. Less than 1%. Where are they? Where are they? Because most of the people who came fled to Europe is what? Is Muslim. Where are the Christians? They dead. Most of them are dead. Most of them are dead. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you're accepting that the Bible is correct and the US is the second beast and it is acting on a Satan's influence, and you accept that they are abusing and using the Jewish state, to do their dirty work and to keep a place destabilized, and you see the end result of that is all the Christians dead. Does it start making sense to you now, guys? Really, it's that serious. That serious. Anyway, when all of them, they will have a complete lack of boundaries. They'll exploit weaknesses, and they all spy on each other. So that is basically the story about cults. Now I go into great detail on everything I mentioned to you here. Please have a look at that, because we also in Oath of Evil we start looking at the Jesuit order. That Society of Jesus, but it ain't the Jesus you love. No, this is another Jesus, one which they created in their minds, probably Lucifer. And we look at them and we try to see in Oath of Evil, is this place a cult? And guess what? Yeah. Every single one of those things I just mentioned here, they actually get full marks for. There you go. There you go. So anyway, that's the book. Let me grab it here again. Very proud of this book, Gate name Rebecca 65. As you can see, guys, I say again, quite substantial book, almost 500 pages. Fantastic book. I really loved reading it again, and I loved actually writing it. It was a work of love, my man. It was a work of love. But yes, she was very impressed with it. She did read it. She did edit it for us. It's not that type of book, so I have to thank Rebecca for taking the time and standing by me and allowing me to spend so many hours recording, writing, doing the legacy show. It's her money which is carrying it. It's her money which actually bought this phone I'm recording from, as well as this microphone which we brought from Switzerland. I just want to thank her. I want to thank all of you, my readers. Most of you I didn't make so angry with you. But you actually started to become insulting. I really hope that you find enjoyment in my books. I really hope you will tell other people about my books as well. It's important, the messages in them. It's important that it comes out. And I hope that you will not take my word. I hope that you will investigate what I'm trying to tell you and what I did tell you, and that you then find your own way, as I did and everybody else has to do. I'm not scared of asking people to research my books. I know the truth. I know every one of these books have 600 pages of facts behind them, which I've researched. And as I said to you, most of them are actually based upon real events or training scenarios or studied events. So they are very realistic. This one too. When they finally storm that train, a lot of things happens which it's very, very touching. And that's it. That's it. Bye bye.